just left yourself too much work to do, Vossi? What happened in that first half, do you think?
Oh, well, finals footy is about stepping up from minute one. It's not about stepping up at half time. Look, it would have been an incredible fight back to think that might have been possible. There's probably a small window, probably about 3 or 4 minutes there, where it could have one more goal could have done something. But no, it's just against good sides. This competition too far back gave them too much runway, and we need to set the game up better. When you can't get a foothold at centre square bounce, that makes it really difficult. And we knew what we wanted to take off Brisbane, which was their marks, and we just couldn't do that. I guess the areas of the game that we spent a bit of energy leading up to the game, we couldn't execute. So that was just inconsistent, which obviously clearly when you're trying to build out of your back half for most of the night through losing the territory battle, it makes it really tough against this side particularly. Yeah.
I guess the obvious question, you had 6 guys coming in. Was it the right call in hindsight? Was it too many, or where do you sit on it now?
No, I think if you look at the individuals themselves, they've all got through the game okay. Again, we tend to put them all in the same basket, but the reality is they're all different. We had sort of 3 guys that had sort of missed 1 or 2 weeks. So it's, they've played a body of work over the course of the season, so that doesn't really impact them. And obviously we had the other ones, which are probably more namely Doc and Ches and Tom. So tried to manage Tom's minutes a bit at the start of the game, but we didn't want to activate him when we did, but sort of left with no choice with how the scoreboard was rolling.
He actually made quite an impact, didn't he, when he did come on?
He did, yeah.
Maybe ruining not starting him in the end because he was so...
No, just the way that... No, well, I mean, I'd love his availability. Yeah. No, there's no question on that. I think if we'd had our way, we'd love to start them all at the same time, but to sort of manage a very unusual set of circumstances, very unique set of circumstances. There was probably a couple in that category, and Tom was probably just 1 or 2 runs short of being able to put in 100 minutes, for example. So, look, the option was to either not play him or play him in that scenario. So we chose to want to activate him, and I'm pleased we did, as it turns out, because we needed to sort of, a little bit of presence down the line, clearly forward of the ball. We couldn't win many contests. They were able to dominate the air and on the ground for large parts of that first half, and it wasn't just there, by the way, but certainly being able to have Tom in and Pitto being able to go in tandem sort of most part of the game was, at least gave us at least a chance.
You're probably plugging holes everywhere, but what was your plan for Zorko? He had a bit in the first half, and then Ollie went to him and kept him pretty quiet, I'd say, for a while there. Yeah,
look, we just didn't execute it well enough. The plan was there to start, but we just didn't execute it well enough. So, and look, there's, tonight, and then there's probably us as a season, and the reality is that probably tonight was a really small sample size of what our season's been. It's, hasn't been consistent enough. So, and when you're not consistent enough, it compounds over time, and and if it compounds over time, you come to finals and it's put up against the best sides in the competition under the most extreme pressure against an away venue, and you find out a bit about yourselves. And we just weren't able to play with any real consistent execution across the night. We didn't have our pressure at anywhere near the levels that it needed to be. Brisbane ramped that up, and we couldn't go with it. It took us a while to sort of generate that in our game. And so, if you don't build those habits for long enough over the course of the season, you find out when you come to these sorts of games. So that's our challenge moving forward as a footy team, club, is to be a consistent football team, consistent football club. Going from 13th to 8th, that's not the hard part. Going from 8th to 4th, top 4, going to first, that's the hard part. And there's winning behaviours that are needed, and the consistent winning behaviours we need to make sure that we get better at, and we're short of that, so something to go to work on.
Yeah, do you think, in context for the whole season, have you stalled there, or think back 12 months ago, are you frustrated by the lack of progress, or do you think there has been enough good things happening, or how do you?
Look, yeah, it's. I mean, the result says we're not as far advanced as what we'd like to be. That's what the result says. So we won't shy away from that. We want to be better than what we did tonight, and when we end up finishing our season. So the demand comes when being able to try and make sure that we get better and that we do it over a consistent period of the season. And we need to build the cohesion within our group. The consistency of our group and being able to play week after week together is something we've got to go to work on. And then we double down in parts of our game that we know work really well for us. And we're really clear on that. But it's the fundamentals of our game says that you need to be able to have pressure in the game for any system to work. And, that's still not to the level that it needs to be. And then your system has a chance to be able to, catch up and you can execute it really well under pressure. And, there's personnel that goes into that. There's a method that goes into that. And we've clearly got to get after a fair bit more because, tonight wasn't good enough.
Do you think you got the personnel or do you think you still got to tinker?
Oh, we're the unfinished product. I mean, the result says so. So it's incomplete. But we can make a lot of ground by, by compounding what these winning behaviours, and that's what we've got. That's what we get busy doing. So that challenge is in front of us. It's hard to sort of think about that right now when you just come off a loss and you're sort of trying to deal with the game and the players that are over there that are, sort of dealing with the loss themselves. But I think we can emphatically say we don't like where we are, and we've got to get better.
Obviously, nice for Sam to kick a goal at the end and just come back after,
Yeah, a lot of speculation. He's an amazing human being, isn't he? I was, wow. Really proud of what he did. It was incredible. A lot of people doubted the process. But, I watched this bloke go to work over 6 months, and I think it was about 2 weeks in, and he goes, "I'm coming back for finals." I said, "Mate, you are mad, seriously." And he just set his goal on it. He, consulted everything. He went through everything. He terrorised high performers. He terrorised our medical team. He terrorised the coaches. But he's just got that dogged determination, and he wasn't going to miss it for quid. So, to see what he was able to do and get back and play just sort of says to the resilience of the man. And I'm just really pleased he's got through it. I can breathe now a little bit. We get to have him next year now, which is great.
How much of a leap of faith is that from the club? Because we don't see that in this country very ever.
Yeah.
A guy coming back after 6 months. I know the medicos have obviously ticked it off, but is that a big leap?
Yeah.
To take that?
Yeah, I'd understand if there's a fair bit of commentary around whether he should or he shouldn't have, but we have all the context. So we see him every day and we see how he's progressing every day. And, the only one mandate I put over it at the time was like, mate, you cannot miss a step. Like, there can be not one thing go wrong in this for us to even entertain remotely that we should go there. And he was up for that. He was okay. He acknowledged that he needed to get through some crucial steps, and there wasn't a milestone that he had to miss. And he fortunately had a very, very good rehabilitation process. And so it advanced pretty quickly. So I'm just really pleased that he was able to do that. But obviously it wasn't quite the inspiration we needed or could help us as much of what we would have liked for tonight.
That's the precedent now, isn't it? 6 months or thereabouts?
I don't know. I don't know whether it is. I'm not sure. I think it's a one-off. I don't know whether I'll actually see that ever again in my career. Just Doc's got that sort of unique way of being able to. It's not time to share it now, but I was just like, I sat in front of the bloke when he had cancer, and I just said he was going to play round one. It's like, I thought he was mad then. I thought he was mad on this one, and on both occasions he's been able to get it done. So I was just like, when the guy sits in front of you after going through that, and sort of says, "I can do this," you tend to believe him.
It's quite the journey you've had with him, isn't it? Just
it is.
Back to starting here.
Yeah, drafted him. Yeah.
Came in.
Yeah. So, but that story's not finished yet. So he's got more to go, which is just pleasing to see. And ours is finished for this year, but it's not finished, and it's incomplete, and it's unfinished, and we've got some really really clear things that we've got to get after to be better as a football team. And like I said, going from 13th to 8th, I'll say it's a hard step. It's not the hardest step. Going from 8th to being top 4 and regularly being there, that's what we want to be as a football club. And we're going to put our head down and make sure it happens.
Sounds like you're not putting any credence into the pile of injuries late in the season and the fall there. Like you're not.
Well, that's part of the inconsistency. That's the reality. That's when you're trying to build cohesion and connection in a system and build the habits and compound them and double it down and train it and get after it again, and it has an impact. So I don't know how large that impact is because it's the intangible and unquantifiable. I couldn't put on what that actually means. But when you're sort of scrambling at different times and you're not getting the sort of same personnel out there, it has an impact. And as I said, it compounds over time. And where does it show itself? Well, it shows itself in the big games, and it shows itself when you need it. And it's and like I said, tonight was a little bit of the first half. We just couldn't get our execution right. Our second half, the boys fought on, showed great spirit, great fight. But we've got to be ready to go when we start.
You said you're an unfinished product still. What's number 1 on the shopping list or number 1 on the list of things to be tweaked?
It might be a couple of weeks to absorb that. I think we go into review mode now and we exit our players and do their medicals and make sure they exit it right. And the stage after that is, okay, what's next? What are the important things we need to consider within our program for us to be able to take the steps we need? So, it goes into our list. It goes into our program, the way we want to play. So, we'll review it pretty thoroughly.